Hello and welcome back to the Armchair QBs. I'm your host Calum Buchan. Alongside me again is Dan Cameron, virtually.
As we always have been.
Yes. One day we'll meet up in person.
Yes.
It'd be good to finally meet you, Dan.
It must be about 18 months since we last saw each other.
Yeah, it's incredible. Incredible scenes. So for this episode, we're going to do a bit more of a free agency recap, and we're just going to go through each division, and we'll just talk about who we think has improved in that division, or who we think's in a better position than they were previously. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I just want to kind of streamline it and strip it all back and say which team has done the best out of free agency, regardless of value or regardless of if there's somebody else better. Overall, has this team improved their position of being a better team down the line? Because I think if we get caught up too much in the numbers, because nobody wins in free agency. History tells us that. Just because you spend money in free agency doesn't mean that you've done well. So let's take the dollars out of it, and let's just look at the talent that the teams have acquired and see where we are.
Okay. Right. Normally when these things are done, everybody starts in the AFC. So let's start in the NFC, and let's go to the NFC East. Who's your pick here?
Well, it's not the Giants. I'm going to say that because I know we've just immediately talked about value, but they got fleeced by Kenny Golladay and Adoree Jackson. But I think overall their acquisitions have not improved themselves too much. I think they've taken too many cast-offs rather than acquiring talent that will help them going forwards. I think it's going to have to be I think it's going to have to be just the Redskins. They locked up people.
The Washington football team.
Okay, right. Okay, so I think it's going to have to be the Washington football team. They, solidified their quarterback position, giving them some security. It's not a final fix, but they've given some security by getting Ryan Fitzpatrick in there. They've, got starters at positions of need, wide receiver. They've re-signed on the offensive line, and they managed to get William Jackson in, who upgrades their DBs immediately. So I think overall, just from those kind of few moves that they've done better than the other teams in the division. Because as I say, I think you can look at New York Giants, and they've brought in Kenny Golladay, John Ross, Kyle Rudolph. It's quite obvious that they're trying to upgrade offensive skill positions to give Daniel Jones no more excuses. But I'm still happier with the Curtis Samuels of the world and the William Jacksons of the world than what they've gone and done.
I tend to agree with you, because I think if you look at this division, like the Eagles have taken a step backward. I don't think there's any going around that, and they finished 4-11 last year. Giants, I'm unsure on, but I'm actually going to go with the Cowboys, and my only reason for going with the Cowboys is they got the Dak deal done, which was the most important thing to do. They're the only team in that division with a true, top-tier quarterback at the moment. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen in the draft. So for me, it's Dallas. They had to get the Dak deal sorted. They got it done, and that was the best bit of business that they could do.
That's cheating, but fair enough.
I know it's kind of cheating, but I just, there's nothing like with a healthy Dak. I think the Cowboys are going to win that division.
Oh, all right, okay. So I was mocked for my Cowboys NFC Championship last year, and now you're going with them to win the division. Okay.
To win that. Yeah, the NFC East.
Yeah. It's noted. It's noted. It'll all come back on you, Cal. It'll all come back.
Yeah, I know. It always does. Let's go to the North, the NFC North. What are you liking there?
Really, I think I'm going to discount the Lions because I hated the the Jared Goff trade. I know that wasn't really part of free agency, but it's part of their off-season moves before the draft. And they haven't really done anything else other than sign Rashad Perriman and Terrell Williams and bring back Romeo Okwara. It's just, despite them having all the capital, they have the best potential in the division with all the capital they have to bring in new players later on. But for this period here, I'm not willing to give them a pass. But I think I might have to go with the Chicago Bears, and it's not a glowing endorsement. I think every team in the NFC North has been pretty poor with their free agency moves. But I think the Bears were obviously doing their best to try and improve their team, even though the Bears are incompetent at doing it, and Ryan Pace shouldn't be in his job. But they've managed to bring in Andy Dalton, who again is, much like Ryan Fitzpatrick, is some sort of security. It's a middle of the road. I would much have a Fitzpatrick over a Dalton, but they've kept Allen Robinson in house, and then they've gone out and got Desmond Trufant, Dion Bush to shore up some positions. The main difficulty is that they've released Kyle Fuller, and he's immediately signed. And it seems as though that, is a cap casualty that they're either hoping would free up some dollars for them to do other things with, and then never materialised. But again, I don't think any team in the NFC North really did anything of note, but I'm going to go with the Bears.
I 100% agree with you on this one. I would go with the Bears. I don't think the Lions haven't wowed me with their off-season moves, and I just don't really know what's going on with the Vikings. It seems a bit of a mess. And some of the Packers moves were head-scratching.
They just kept everyone in-house. I mean, they haven't done anything. I mean, they've paid a little bit over market value for Aaron Jones, which is fine. But they brought back Mercedes Lewis when I think they could have gone out and got younger and more dynamic at the position and some of the tight ends that were available in free agency, and re-signed Kevin King, who was just basically the goat that was not the goat, but the goat that was trotted out to be blamed after the NFC Championship. And so they're giving him a 1-year, $6 million deal, which is really nothing in free agency terms, but just peculiar.
I just didn't get the Aaron Jones one because you drafted your running back of the future last year in the first round, and now you've just re-signed someone to be there as a roadblock. No. It makes no sense, in my opinion.
The Packers used to always be about building the future from the draft, and the first 3 picks of their draft last year were inconsequential. Didn't make it any sort of impact at all. I think, in fact, first 3 picks were Jordan Love, A.J. Dillon, and not A.J. Dillon, but Avery Dillon, and the tight end that they brought in, who was essentially a glorified fullback. Never had any impact. So it seems as though they're just quite happy standing pat, and they think they've got the best team that there is right now. So it'll be interesting to see what they do in the draft. But free agency wise, they haven't improved.
Yeah. Definitely. Let's move to the NFC South. For me, I would say my pick is the Buccaneers. They've just done a good job of re-signing everybody that they need to re-sign. It's another year in the system for these guys. Okay, they're another year older, but if you look at that division, New Orleans are in flux when it comes to who they're even going to play at quarterback. Falcons, no idea what's going to go on with them. It's a big question mark. And Panthers, who knows what they're going to do as well. So I think the business that the Buccaneers have done has been smart, and they'll supplement as well through the draft. So for me, they're the winners from the NFC South.
I can't get on board with the Bucs because again they've just kept everybody in house. So I get everybody in house. They re-signed pretty much everybody that was a free agent. So it's good to keep a winning team together. I get that, but that doesn't mean that they've improved. It just means that they've stayed the same. So in free agency wise, the Buccaneers haven't done anything as far as I'm concerned. New Orleans obviously have got cap hell and trying to get through as much as possible, and again they haven't done much but re-sign the main players, and then they've gotten rid of a lot of players via trades or cap casualties. So I'm going to go with the Carolina Panthers. I don't like their strategy because it seemed as though that they were lining up, trying to get a top-tier quarterback into the team via trade, and they were not spending a lot of dollars, keeping a lot of cap space, but at the same time, they've addressed offensive line, they've addressed wide receiver, and they've addressed linebacker, which was a really, really, really important part. They've brought Denzel Perryman in. If he stays healthy, he's a very good addition. They brought Hassan Reddick in. He'll give them a bit of pass rush. And on the offensive line, they've got Cam Irvin and Pat Elflein, which are not stellar moves, but they're solid. And again, I just think that for a team like the Panthers, who are in a rebuild and are obviously looking to add a starting quarterback, those are the kind of moves that they had to do. And I just think that it's probably out of all the teams in the AFC South, they were the ones that did the best at the free agency.
And NFC West, are we allowed to just say no one? I've not looked at anybody's moves.
Well, it really depends what you consider as improving your team, because the Seahawks have obviously gone out and gotten Gerald Everett to help with the new OC system coming from the Rams. They got Gabe Jackson after the Raiders realised that, well, if you just actually say you're releasing very good players, someone will come and give you a third-round pick for it. They did that with Rodney Hudson. He ended up in Arizona. And if anything, that was just to keep him away from the Chiefs. Apparently, he was all ready to go to the Chiefs. It was all lined up just for him to be released. And then they said, well, hang on a minute, no, you're not going to a division rival. So they traded him off to the Cardinals. And the same thing happened with Gabe Jackson. I'm not too enamored with how the Seahawks are running things at the moment. So I think that's pretty much the only move that I like from them. So I think I'm going to have to come back and say that Arizona have added talent. Now, it might be older talent, but AJ Green, Rodney Hudson, JJ Watt, Malcolm Butler, that's old talent, but they're solid players when they're on their game, and you hope that that's what they're going to do. So potential-wise, they've improved their team a lot at spots that they needed to. But whether or not it's going to pay off, I can't say. But certainly I think that from a talent perspective, they are a better football team, talent-wise, on paper, than they were before free agency.
I think that's fair. I think you can make the argument, definitely, that their defense has improved, and that was the one area that was, a chink in their armour last year. So adding JJ Watt, if you can get a semblance of pass rush out of him opposite Chandler Jones, that would be good. Butler helps in the secondary, but I think the question marks on them still comes down to coaching. And we'll see, but yeah, I'll go with you on the Cardinals. Let's shift over to the AFC then. AFC West. Who are you going for?
Oh, choices. I am not going to pick the Raiders, and the reason being, despite some relatively smart signings of Ngakoue and Nick Martin, they then decided just to kind of release some of the better players that helped them get to the position where they were playing well last year. So essentially 4 of the 5 offensive linemen are gone. And they've not really replaced them. So I think that overall, in free agency and some of their roster decisions to get rid of players that they didn't have to, they've gone down in talent level. So it's very, very, very strange what the Raiders have done. Kansas City Chiefs, obviously they were big into the offensive line market and managed to get Joe Thuney. They brought Kyle Long out of retirement, but again, it's nothing that really makes me think that they're terribly better. I don't know. I might say nobody for this, because I think that it's all pretty much lateral moves for everybody. Probably Corey Lindsey for the Chargers is probably one of the better moves out of that division. Jared Cook for the Chargers, again, gives them maybe a bit more of a pass-catching threat than Hunter Henry. But again, really, I'm not really impressed with any of the moves from the AFC West teams.
Yeah, I think for me, if I'm going to give it to anybody, it's the Chiefs. Just because Long, I think, is an upgrade. He's had that year off. That's the only question mark, though, as well, is how's he going to be when he comes back? So he has had a season. He has had a season out. There's
a question they might put him at tackle. There's a serious question that they might play him at right tackle.
So I don't know, because that offensive line was terrible in the Super Bowl. It was absolutely porous, and Yeah, like you say, the Raiders kind of have taken a backward step. I have no idea what they had planned. I was kind of surprised that that Mariota accepted the pay cut. I thought he would take getting released.
I just don't think he wants to start. The move of Marcus Mariota to redo a deal to take less money, but to increase a no trade clause is just quite bizarre. I don't understand the move. I don't understand it from where he wants to advance his career, whether he wants to be a starter again, or whether he's just more settled in what he's doing and happy to be the backup. But it's not the kind of step you would take from somebody wanting to advance a career.
Yeah. Let's migrate to the AFC South.
All over the place here. I've got an idea of how the divisions run in order, and you're just going all over the shop, right?
Well, I'm on listeners, if you want to know the secret behind this, so you can maybe get ahead of us. I'm on Pro Football Reference. I've started at the NFC standings, and I've worked my way down, and now I'm working my way back up. So we've gone down the NFC, and now we're working up bottom to top in the AFC.
Yeah. Well, yeah. For me, there's essentially two potential teams here, and that's just because of the volume of players that they've added, and that's Houston and Jacksonville. And I'm going to go with Jacksonville because both teams are obviously just ripping everything to the ground, bringing as many players as they can in, and seeing what kind of sticks because they're all brand new. 2 new head coaches, 2 new teams, 2 new whole cultures trying to be built. But what you've got from Jacksonville is you've got a mix of speed, experience, and upgrades at certain points. So Philip Dorsett and Marvin Jones might not sound like a great pair of receivers, but I think I prefer that over the pair of receivers that I've signed for the Patriots. So. Keeping Cam Robinson, bringing Tyson Alualu back, Jihad Ward in from the Ravens, trading for Malcolm Brown, Sidney Jones, Shaquille Griffin. I mean, they're upgrading starters on every part of the team, and I just think that what Jacksonville have done with their spree is just been a little bit better than bringing in kind of like Mark Ingram or Philip Lindsay like the Texans have.
Don't forget the Texans brought in their starting quarterback for the year, Tyrod.
Yeah, well, what, not Ryan Finley?
No, they'll be going with Tyrod. Tyrod's got that job.
Yeah, but that's essentially what Tyrod does now.
Yeah.
Team in crisis needing a bridge, and I'll come in and last maybe 3 games before I'm injured.
Yeah, I mean, God help them, because that Texans team is they are not built to win a game this next year. And for that reason, I can't give it to the Texans. I thought you would say you were going to go between the Colts and the Jaguars. I would go for the Jaguars.
Right, because the Colts have obviously got a new quarterback, but there's so many questions about Carson Wentz, which will not go away until he plays a game. And then, Marlon Mack only signing a 1-year deal for $2 million was interesting to me. There must either not have been a market at all, or he took less money to stay in Indy, much like T.Y. Hilton did. So there's a clear correlation between all the players that the Ravens have pushed to sign and what they do, and that's basically not signing Baltimore, and they go back to where they want to, where they previously played. So no, I don't really think that you could say that the Colts have improved themselves. They certainly in a position to improve if Carson Wentz goes back to his previous form and it doesn't play like 2020, but it's still a question mark as to whether or not they'll be able to get the best out of him. So maybe later we'll project how they do, and I think it's more likely that he'll go back to that. But right now, it's not as though they've acquired Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, or a new quarterback that's going to be the face of their franchise for the next 5 years. It's very much a year-to-year proposition for the Carson Wentz Indianapolis Colts tenure. So no, I just think from the amount for 2 teams that added 10, 12, 15 players each during this period, I just think that the Jacksonville Jaguars got the better quality of player.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think they are building up, and it's starting off from a very low foundation of 1 win last year. I do think that Urban has a chance to get them going. I think that division's going to be interesting next year. I want to see how much Tennessee regress, and like you say, the question marks over Carson Wentz, and just see exactly what happens in this division. But I think it's there for Jacksonville. It all depends on the type of quarterback play they get out of Lawrence. But we'll see. AFC North.
You go first, because I've got I think a wild card.
I'm going to go Cleveland. I just like what they've done, and they didn't really need to do that much to get better. My only question of them for next year is how Baker does. Is he able to actually maintain that same level?
Yeah. Well, I mean, for the Browns, I mean, to me, the only real piece of quality they added was John Johnson. Everyone else was kind of a bit meh. I mean, you got kind of flame outs of first round draft picks. Takaris McKinley is really the only kind of notable name. They re-signed a couple of other players, but I'm going with the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, it's not great, but I still think it's better than what the Ravens have done and what the Steelers have done in free agency. They've addressed the offensive line. Riley Reef is not going to get anybody excited, but it's a hell of a lot better than Bobby Hart. They've brought back Quinton Spain, but he was an in-season trade last year from the Bills, or certainly the Bills cut him and they immediately signed to the Bengals, and they've kept him. Eli Apple, Awuzie, two cornerbacks again. Mike Hilton, add that to three cornerbacks. Hilton, played more in the box for Pittsburgh, so he's kind of like a strange hybrid linebacker safety, but they need to get better on that end, as well as Ricardo Allen. So they've kind of rebuilt the whole secondary and focus on offensive line to make sure that they protect Joe Burrow. So I just think, from a talent standpoint, they're better immediately, and they addressed areas that they definitely needed to.
I get that, but like some of those signings, like you say, they're not exactly needle movers.
Well, there's a reason why I didn't really focus on Trey Hendrickson. I mean, I appreciate that Trey Hendrickson had good stats, but as a pass rusher, I still think he's, average to slightly better than average.
For me, the Eli Apple one, he's just been a flame out completely.
He did all right in New Orleans. I mean, absolutely terrible Giants career, absolutely awful, and they did all right in New Orleans. But it's still talent-wise, it's there. Whether or not that talent actually produces, it's a different question. But I still think they're better in the secondary with Awuzie, Mike Hilton, and Ricardo Allen.
No, that's fair. Let's finish up AFC East. I'll let you make your stab at it here.
Again, slightly odd. The Jets. I just think the Jets have gone for a lot of players, but they've not just kind of gone for bargain basement. They've kind of managed to get middle level talent, which has upgraded many parts of the roster. Tevin Coleman, then Keenan Cole, Corey Davis, Tyler Croft, Dan Feeney on the offensive line, two edge rushers with Vinny Curry and Carl Lawson, Sheldon Rankins, from New Orleans, and LaMarcus Joyner. So they're all recognizable names, all at spots where basically you could upgrade at any point on the Jets roster, and they've managed to do that. So they didn't come out swinging in free agency, but they've certainly added a lot of solid players in my.
No, I think that's fair. I actually was going to go for the Bills. I like the Emmanuel Sanders signing. I think that that helps them out with that wide receiver core. Weirdly, I do also like the Mitchell Trubisky signing, just because if you think how much Josh Allen puts his body on the line, you need to have a serviceable QB that you can throw in if he has to miss time. And
is he better than Matt Barkley?
I think Trubisky's better than Matt Barkley.
Yeah, no, I'm trolling you a little bit there, but let's not say that this is going to be a move that makes the Bills relevant. If Josh Allen goes down and they're 6-3, are you still confident they're getting to the playoffs? If Josh Allen goes out for the year and they have to run with Mitchell Trubisky?
Oh, if he's out for the year, no, that's a completely different proposition. But let's say it's a tight race and Josh Allen has to miss 2 games. I'd be confident with Mitchell Trubisky that you wouldn't throw away those 2 games.
Well, the best that you're hoping for is 500, surely.
Yeah, 500, but I think with Matt Barkley, I wouldn't be confident to win either of them.
Fair enough.
Although it does annoy me because I was really high on Jake Fromm coming out of this draft. I heard last year's draft. That just shows how much I know.
Well, I think we had a discussion about that.
Yeah, we did.
Jake Fromm who's looking foolish now?
Yeah. Remember when Mike Mayock was all in on DeShone Kizer?
Yes,
had him rated higher than I think he had him rated higher than Patrick Mahomes.
No.
No, was it the same? Was Kizer in that draft?
No, I'm not. I don't think that was ever the position. Don't think that was ever the position. Go away and find out. If it is, I don't know. I'll send you something. I'll send you a pack of beer or something. But I really, really doubt that's what happened.
No, it definitely was because I need to find this.
Right. I think we're out of divisions, aren't we?
Yeah, we are out of divisions now.
So pretty much free agency's ended now. You only get 2 episodes of us talking rubbish about it, rather than the 4 days in a row that a lot of more professional. I tell you what, they can fill minutes, man. A lot of places can fill a lot of minutes daily. It's quite impressive. Talking about the same things, but moving on to the draft, and I think we're gonna have to break down the quarterbacks next week. And I would stress to anybody to come and listen to that, because I have some unconventional thoughts about this upcoming draft class of quarterbacks, and it's certainly going to, I'm going to take it to the mainstream and tell them that they're all wrong.
Well, that is fine. And I have just found this. So Mike Mayock, in his first ranking of the QBs, had DeShone Kizer ranked as the best quarterback in that class.
That's the first rankings. I mean, Christ.
He's now changed it. He did change it to. He finished up with Watson, Trubisky, Mahomes, and then Kizer, and then Davis Webb.
So not terribly, not all that off the mark.
No, not terrible. Look, we were both massive Mayock fans, so we can. It's all love, Mike. It's all love. If you're listening to this,
yeah,
invite us to a game.
Everybody misses once.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so next week we'll be back. We'll break down the QBs for the draft. And again, this is another quick episode because a lot of this time there is just a lot of conjecture and people don't really know what's going on. But at least from this episode, from us, you got us all taking a punt on who we think it's going to shake out for the next season, and you can hold that over our heads next year when it goes spectacularly wrong.
Don't hold us to
that. Yeah, you can. It's fine. Okay, make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and we will be back next week. Goodbye.